Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Spirit Speaker KC podcast. I'm Jamie, psychic medium, and tonight we have a special guest in the house. I guess I have to claim her. I didn't pick her up hitchhiking or anything, but this is my youngest sister, Chris. The reason I brought Chris on today, a little bit of background, just so you know. As you may have heard me talk about before, my mom has been in spirit for almost 17 years. And I can't remember from other talks or other episodes if I've mentioned her, but my mom is in spirit and she has come through to me in messages before, dream visitation. She's really big on numbers, but my mom has really come through 4, 5, 6 times from the other side. So, when we've had those conversations about do loved ones, are they with us, are they around, my mom has definitely been one of those that has come through for me. But today it's not really about mediumship. I invited my sister on this podcast because one of my mother's biggest dreams, or one of the things that she enjoyed more than anything, was writing, poetry, stories. It didn't matter. She always had this dream of being an author or a writer. And it just never transpired the way she wanted to. She was a nurse, enjoyed that. But since she's passed, my sister, my mom had written a children's book or a children's story. But she hid it from us because she never wanted it to be published or didn't want people to know about it. But after she passed, my sister here, Chris, found the story and proceeded to get it published. So I thought this is kind of a plug for my mom and her book for everybody to go out and buy the book. And so I thought I would bring Chris on to talk about this, and we'll just kind of go from there, Chris. Tell everyone, and I'll probably have to be reminded too, when did you first hear about this story that the book has now been published? When did you first tell us your background, how you heard about it or knew about the story?
It was my young 20s, I'm sure. I think it was around that time. I don't have the exact date, but probably in the early 90s, my young 20s. So I knew mom wrote stories and poetry, children's stories and poetry forever. So even when I was a kid. So when I was in 6th grade, I always tell this story. I had a writing assignment when I was in 6th grade that I had to write a story every day for a week. And I went back, and I don't even know why I asked. I probably just asked just for the heck of it, knowing she would probably say no. But I asked mom, since she wrote children's stories, would she write these stories for me? And surprisingly, she said yes, which I couldn't believe, because mom would never do our homework or anything
Right.
like that. So every day for a week, for 5 days, she wrote a different children's story. I would take them to class, claim them as my own, and I would get applause. The whole class would applaud because the teacher would ask me to read them out loud. And
Wow.
I was the only one that she asked to read the story out loud. So I would read the story out loud, and the other kids in the classroom would applaud me every day. And I would go home every day and tell mom they loved your story, and she would just have this, I don't even know how to describe it other than this serene smile. So I knew she wrote when I was in middle school. I was on the yearbook staff. She wrote a poem for me for 8th grade going into 9th grade. And when I was in high school, I was on the yearbook staff and she wrote a poem there. So I always knew that she was
Yeah.
a writer, that she
Right.
and so she told me in my early 20s that she had this story and that she wanted me to read it. And I absolutely loved it. And I was emphatic of saying, Mom, you've got to get this published. And she was like, nope, nope, not going to happen. It's not good enough, all of that. And I'm like, Mom, I will do it for you. I will get it published for you. I will go
Ah.
through all the steps. She's like, nope, nope. And I'm like, you can't stop me. I'm just going to come and get it and take it. And she said, you'll have to find it first. And
Mm.
I just laughed, thinking, no big deal. Went
Right.
back to try to find it one time, couldn't find it. She had literally hid it. And for years, never could find it until
Mhm.
after she died and we were packing up her house and I found it. And it became this long journey of me saying, what you gonna do now? I'm gonna get it published.
Right, right. Wow, wow. I love that you said the kids would applaud you, and you're in your head like, if only y'all knew. But I have to admit as well, in high school, I took a class called creative writing, and I might have written 30% of the writings in there. You know, I shouldn't say that, but mom did love to write. It was like she, like you said, she would never do our homework or any of that kind of thing. But if it came to writing and something we had to write, she was like, okay, let's do it.
I
What's the
didn't know
name?
she did that for you. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was in high school. Yeah, I took a creative writing course and all the poetry, and people would even say, Jamie, why are you writing all this poetry about love? I'm like, I have no idea. You know, no telling what I said back then.
Right.
But I always knew she had that love. I remember her always talking about wanting to be an author, and sometimes when you look back, you just wonder what was the story. What was the name of the? Do you have? What was the name of that story? What do you remember?
It was this one. It was the
Okay,
Cane Chair.
okay,
It was the
the
one that
cane.
I eventually the one that I just got published. So yeah, she had it for that long. But it was, and I don't know why I loved it so much. Like I don't even remember back then like what was it about it. Now that I read it again and have been reading it for so long trying to get it published, um to me it's mom in a book. Like it's everything that she believed in. It's about family, it's about love, it's about having faith and doing kind deeds. And I feel
Right.
like that was mom. And so for me, it became something deeper now. Like back then, I wanted it published just because I wanted mom to know how good she was.
Right.
Now that she's no longer here, I wanted it published not only so that she could have something published, but that other people will know her through her words, because I
Mm.
feel like this story is mom. It shouts out everything about who she is.
Do you have the book so you can hold up the
I
cover?
do.
So again, plugging it if anyone has children out there or just would like to support our mom, Kathy, in the cane chair. It's a wonderful story. I work in an elementary school. And so I thought that I would see if I could even get some of the teachers there to read it. Did
It's
you ever
available
think?
on Amazon.com.
All right, available at Amazon. How was it? What's the reception been like to people that or even before it was published? Did you let other people read the story?
I didn't.
Hmm.
It was a really, and I didn't even tell a lot of people about it. Family knew about it, siblings, but even like extended family, like
Mhm.
mom's sisters and brothers, they didn't know. I never shared it, and I don't I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't really a reason. It was just kind of more, I don't know. I don't know if it was kind of a private thing for me, or
Mm.
maybe I was scared that it wasn't gonna happen. So don't tell anybody in case it doesn't happen. But I do believe, I've always been a believer that, God puts people in our lives for a reason. Um, and You don't know, why you cross paths with certain
Hmm.
people.
Right.
And I'm definitely a believer that this journey that I'm on right now, I was meant to cross paths with a certain colleague and worker and friend of mine. And I can honestly say I don't know if this would have happened without her. Like, I don't know if it ever would have finished if not for her. So
The colleague.
yeah, so it's a weird story. So, which is weird because, again, like I told you, I never told this story to anyone really
Mm.
outside. I don't even know if my two best friends know about it. Like,
Mm.
I may have told them in passing years ago, but it was never something that was just in the forefront. And so I had a colleague at work, and we bonded really on a, what I like to think, on a very spiritual level.
Right.
And so I found myself telling her a lot of things that I wouldn't tell most people, especially a person that you work with. But I consider her a friend, and I told her the story about mom's book. I don't
Mm.
even know why. I don't even remember the conversation of me telling her. But then I work in a place where we I don't know what you call it, like a co-op with
Mhm.
other businesses and people
Ah,
that are in the
okay.
same space. And so one day this colleague of mine came up to me and said, "Chris, you said you were looking for an illustrator for your mom's book. Shelby is an illustrator." And that was one of the co people who worked there in that office space. And I didn't even remember telling my colleague about mom's book. So the fact that she was telling me, "Here's an illustrator for you," and I was like, "Did I even tell it? How did you know about mom's book?" And so it started me on the path of talking with her. I gave her the book to read. She
Okay.
loved it. But she said she couldn't do the illustrations because of time wise.
Mm.
She was doing some other stuff besides her full time job.
Ah,
And but she gave me the name of someone else who could do it. So I contacted that person, and for a lot of reasons, that person, it didn't work out.
right.
So I went back to my colleague and I said, it just didn't feel right. I don't think it's going to work with this other person. I'm going to think about it for a few months, and maybe." And she said, "Well, my sister draws." And I'm like, "Oh, she does, doesn't she?" Because I remember seeing pictures or whatever. And she's like, "I'm sure she could illustrate your book." And I'm
Wow.
like, "Do you think she would?" And this colleague of mine is British, and her sister still lives in London, but she was here for several months visiting. So the
Mm.
timing, everything that just,
Yeah.
all of the stars kind of aligned.
Right.
And I had met her sister before, but we sat down over a drink and talked about it, talked about mom, talked about the family. I showed her a bunch of family pictures.
Ah.
She fell in love with the story,
Mm.
and said, "Yeah, I could do this." And it just kind of all fell into place after that. And so um I don't know if, and it was so easy. Like, the process with her was so
Mhm.
easy, and she was here in town, where this other person was, out of town. So I don't know, everything just aligned, and I think it was meant to be at this time.
Yeah, right, right. I totally agree. Especially, we talk about that a lot when things just kind of unfold with ease, that it's just meant to happen. And I don't believe in coincidences. You know, we talk about that with your colleague sister who does drawings, and she did a wonderful job in the book. So I really feel like it was meant to happen. And you know, I'm a believer, and I'm a lot of woo woo, and people know this about me. But I'm a believer that maybe mom didn't, for whatever reason, want it to be published in while she was alive. But I'm always a believer that she's probably given us some nudges and some help from the other side to get it published. Maybe, I don't know, but you know, have you had any validations, confirmations from mom from the other side yet that she's approving of this, or are you still waiting?
Both, because you've said this a lot. You should trust what comes through or
Mhm.
whatever. And for me, it's hard for me to trust. So like I've been telling mom, like, hit me over the head. And I've had a lot of angst about it because she didn't want to get this published. And in
Mm.
my mind, it was prior to that, she had submitted a poem for in a contest. She had
Mm.
entered a poem that she had written in a contest, and she didn't win. And
Mm.
so I think that, and this is just me personally, she
Right.
never said it. I think that kind of hurt her, thinking of, if she was good enough or whatever. And so that may have had something to do with it. But I've always had this angst about me that she didn't want it published so badly that she hid it from me. And so the fact that now I went and did it, is she upset about it? Is she happy
Yeah.
about it? All of
Right.
that. And so I had been asking her, as you have always said, ask spirit what you want. And so I asked her to, let me know in some way if it was, if this is a good thing, if this is positive. Does she know about it? Is she happy about it? And
Mhm.
this came out, we had it come out and published and available for purchase on our birthday on the 22nd of May. And so that whole day I was just waiting, like, mom, tell me, like, is this it? And I got nothing. And so I was hurt, but then also, I don't know, kind of like worried that, did I do the
Right.
right thing? Was this
Right.
the right thing to do if she really didn't want it published? And then the next day, I remember saying, mom, please, please send me a sign that you know this. And I was driving home from work the next day and drove past this place that she used to get mushrooms from every year, wild
Mhm.
mushrooms. And the guy, and it's an individual vendor that
Mm.
he sets up a
Mm.
tent in this place. And I had been asking mom, like, please show me, let me know that you are aware of this book and you're happy about it. And then I saw this vendor, this mushroom vendor that mom always went to. And the
Mm.
first thing that went through my mind was, okay, that for me, it was validation at the time,
Gotcha.
that
Yep.
it was validation that that was her. Like, there was no other way. Like, this, she loved mushrooms, and this guy's mushrooms, and at the same stand, this is where she would go all the time. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer that this was her.
Right.
But since that time, of, how doubt goes back into
Oh
your
yeah,
mind, and I
absolutely. Yeah.
wonder, was that validation? Was that a validation? I haven't received anything else.
Okay.
So I don't know. So that was I feel like that was a validation that she knew about it and that she was happy about it. But
That just may be one of those things where she'll deliver the message to me, her favorite. So you know, that's it could be she's gonna wait and give it to her favorite. The oldest child is always the favorite.
Right.
Everybody knows this.
And I
So,
told her that many a times too.
but no, that could be confirmation. You never know. Were there any other stories? Did you ever find any other poems or keep any other poems or other stories or anything like that that mom had written that you may want to get published?
So with this one, there was the start of another story.
Oh,
Um,
really?
and I had thought about it was a children's story too.
Mm-hmm.
And I had thought about like maybe she starts it and I finish it because I'm a wannabe writer.
Yeah.
But I'm not that kind of a writer. Like I'm
Gotcha.
not a creative writer like that.
Mm-hmm.
And um so I've thought about doing something like that, but
Ah.
I think it's 2 or 3 pages only. So it was just the very beginning of another story, but that's
Ah.
it.
Ah.
I don't have any of the I wish I would have kept all of those 6th grade
Right. Right.
stories, like what I would give for those.
Right. Right.
But I didn't keep any of those.
Mm-hmm.
The poems that she did in the yearbook were they're still there, of course, in those yearbooks, but they were very tailored to center, where we went to school and
Okay.
all of that. So
Okay.
this is it. Like this is all we have
Oh,
of her
her
stuff. And
writings.
so yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool if you would write something with that beginning or maybe use it as the intro. And as Chris has mentioned, she is a phenomenal writer. She, like mom, has imposter syndrome and doesn't believe that she is a writer. And yeah, I agree. You may not be a children's book or creative writer, but you are a phenomenal writer. In your own right, and in the past have even had a blog out. If people wanted to look at your writings, your blog, where would they go to get some of your readings? And maybe other than family, this will prompt Chris to write because she's always got ideas for books and she procrastinates or says she's busy or the imposter syndrome. But your blog, where you had writings, where if people were interested, or I threaten people in certain ways that they have to go, where would people go to read some of the blogs that you previously had?
So it's voiceatthetableblogs.com. And I'm gonna start back up. I'm starting writing again. So I've
I've
been
heard that a
writing.
million times, y'all out there. You don't know how many times I've heard this.
Yeah, but it's this time I bought actually for my birthday, I bought a bunch of journals and
Okay.
I've started writing. So my goal is to write daily,
Okay.
and just to get the writing habit back up.
Right.
I'm
Awesome.
reading a book called The Book of Alchemy, and it talks about how journaling can really and doing something creative can really help in a lot of things. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
going through, the author was going through cancer at the time, and
Mm.
so she was writing journaling, and so there's a part in there that says, write for 100 days, like write straight
Mm.
for 100 days, journal, and it gets your juices going. And
Oh,
I've just kind of started it, and I can tell already the juices that are going. So I think
good.
just writing every day and getting back in that habit and using that part of the brain um of that. So I think that's gonna help.
Okay.
And so my goal with that is to get back on to maybe blogs, or maybe turn the blogs into a book. I have an outline for a book, based on
Wow.
kind of, I'm playing with the title, but kind of lessons from mom or something like that.
Right. Right.
Because mom gave great advice. And
Mhm.
so everything I think can lend to that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I think we all have imposter syndrome at some point, you know. It's like the podcast. I talked to you 4 or 5 years ago about doing a podcast, and you know, sometimes you just have to, as our grandmother would say, shit or get off the pot, you know. And so this was the year for me with the podcast. So I want to thank you. If you'll hold up the book one more time, The Cane Chair, written by our mom, Kathy Collins. If you have grandkids or children or niece or nephew or anybody that would be interested in a children's story, we would appreciate it. I know this is our normal mediumship or spirituality, but in a way, I really think that it is. And so I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on the Spirit Speaker KC podcast. I won't be having you on again, so don't worry. But I'd like to thank you for being here, and everyone. I will see you next time on the
Thank
Spirit Speaker
you.
KC. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, and I am on Spotify.